All right, welcome back to Living Fit's 2 Minute Tuesdays. Hope everyone's had a great start to the week and is getting stuck into their health and fitness goals. Nice, simple question, well, relatively simple from Gary this week, who was asked, what's my favorite strength training protocols for body composition goals, in particular weight loss and muscle gain? So let's put 2 minutes on the clock. Another loaded question, but let's see what we can do with it. All right, so when we look at weight loss, my premise behind it all is high intensity intervals comes at the top in terms of return for investment, bang for your buck, time, etc. Followed by weight training, followed by lists, and then you're looking at, so lists, when I say lists, I mean steady state cardio, and then you're looking at like daily activities and walking underneath that. So high intensity intervals is going to give you the biggest return on your investment. Now, of course, you can do high intensity intervals with weight training, but because of the accumulated fatigue factor, it's not the safest environment, especially when if you're new to training, don't know your body, etc. Mostly, I would only recommend high intensity intervals with weight training exercises to people who have a training age of over 5 years, who understand what weight training does to their body, who understand their own limitations, etc. So, that being said, if we're leaving high intensity intervals alone and we're coming one step below that, I'm a big fan of supersets. Now, whether that be, what do I mean by supersets? Well, basically, supersets can be factored into different classifications. So we have an agonist-antagonist, which is, say, a bench press with a row. So I'm doing opposite muscle groups. Not at the same time, of course, in this example, I would be doing a set of bench press followed almost immediately by a set of, say, bent over rows. The good thing about doing agonist-antagonist supersets is you create balance over the body, provided there is, of course, balance already. But probably, arguably, my favorite superset would be combining a lower body exercise with an upper body exercise. By doing this, I can increase the frequency of training because I'm not creating as much muscular damage per muscle used. So instead of spending a whole day doing chest, which creates huge amounts of muscular damage, which of course benefits in terms of hypertrophy, of course, but if we're looking at this from a weight loss and body composition standpoint, if I were to follow such a protocol, it's almost 4 to 5 days before I can hit that body part again to make sure that I have recovered enough. Whereas if I'm doing a upper body, lower body superset, I'm not getting as much load through the muscle. So it doesn't take as long a time in between sessions before I can reload that muscle again. So the good thing about it as well is doing upper body and lower body supersets is I can create huge amounts of lactic acid. Now, if I can produce high levels of lactic acid production, in turn, the body will compensate by producing large amounts of growth hormone. Growth hormone is our hormone, essentially, of weight loss. If I can produce large amounts of growth hormone, I will essentially increase my levels of weight loss. Now, what do I mean by a upper body, lower body split? Now, I would pair this to give you just a basic underlying, say a squat with a, say a pull-up or a bent over row or some sort of back rowing exercise, and maybe a deadlift with bench press. Now, I like to keep rest periods short. So generally I will have you'll move from, say, the squat to the pull-up, 10 to 15 seconds rest, and then after the 2 exercises, I would have 45 seconds rest, and then back to the squat again. So essentially, the good thing about doing a upper body, lower body superset, or in this example, a lower body, upper body superset, is I can get a lot of work done. So I can get a lot of sets in, a lot of reps, etc., because I'm giving my lower body a little bit of rest by going from a lower body to an upper body and then having a bit of rest because there's a bit of accumulated fatigue there. But at the same time, I'm producing a lot of lactic acid and accumulative fatigue because I'm not stopping moving, so to speak. So I'm going straight from a squat, squat is a full body exercise. It's going to create a lot of metabolic adaptation. So I'm already fatigued coming out of the squat, and then I'm going into a bench press or a wide grip pull down or a pull up, which essentially, again, just keeps the metabolic machinery running. So I'm still burning calories, creating a cumulative fatigue. I'm creating a lactic acid response. So I'm creating a hormonal response, in this case being growth hormone. So all said and said, I like to pair a lower body exercise with an upper body exercise in a superset fashion for 4 to 6 sets. And you can probably work this in terms of an A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, D1, D2. So you can do 4 lower body exercises, 4 upper body exercises, probably have a day off, and then, so you're training 4 days a week or training 3 out of 5 days, depending on how you manage it. But the good thing is, because you're not loading a particular movement pattern or a particular motor pattern as you would if you were just doing, say, just a leg day or just a chest day, you can revisit that training day more frequently. Of course, that does mean that program changes will have to be implemented sooner, because if I'm training 3 out of 5 days, it's only going to take me 2 weeks before I've done that program 6 times, so I need to change it to create adaptation. Now, changing can be as simple as just changing the program variables in terms of reps, sets, etc. So in the end, that would be my recommendation for body composition weight loss goals in a resistance training fashion, would be to pair a lower body exercise with an upper body exercise in a superset fashion, and probably pairing 4 different pairings together. So like I said, in an A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, C, etc. So at the end of the day, for weight loss goals, we want lactic acid production, and the best way to produce lactic acid is to have a cumulative fatigue. So I hope this has helped. I hope you got a lot out of this. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next week for 2 Minute Tuesdays. Thank you.